Hello, everyone. I'm just going to let you slowly kind of come on in today. And I'll just, let you all build up over time. Hello, good morning. Welcome, everyone. I'll get you to kind of just slowly roll on in, and then when it kind of slows down, I'll just jump into everything. So grab your coffee, grab your things, just kind of have your breakfast. If you're all sitting together, just kind of have a little bit of a chat amongst yourself while we wait for everyone to join, and then I will get into everything. So hold tight for a moment, and I'll be with you shortly. Okay, good morning, everyone. I kind of feel like everything's slowed down a little bit in regards to people coming in. I'll let everyone else kind of slowly gather in as they want to as well. But welcome to Train the Team with SciDAP Pro. I am Rochelle, and I'm going to be kind of guiding you guys through your session today. Please feel free from now to kind of chuck any questions you might have into that Q&A section, and even in the chat, if you want to just say hi and all that kind of stuff, then definitely go for it. Because I want to kind of hear from you guys as much as possible. Pop that in now, and I can kind of get to it when I have my Q&A section of today's webinar. But yes, today the goal is to run through the mobile view. So as you can see, I've got that all kind of shared up here. I've got my account open. And what we're going to do today is run through just the general flow of the mobile and how we can be utilizing it. So today is really, really handy for anyone who's living in the mobile view of SciDAP Pro, especially people like managers, even field workers, anyone who's going to engage with it. And then even if you're an administrator here today as well, really good to kind of learn about what your team can do with the mobile so that you can then pass that on to them as well. Or even send them the recording of today so that they can learn themselves. But yes, please send people to the session as much as you want, as many times as you guys need to kind of come and hear me chat about this. It's totally fine. I love to see kind of repeat faces. So come back again and again if you want to kind of hear from me or learn about this. We love to see it. So definitely pop in again. But yes, today that is the goal. We're going to kind of go through the mobile flow. I will be diving into kind of every aspect of the mobile. So some of it might be applicable to you and others might not be. It will also be dependent on your company's pack size that you've purchased. So it just depends on what features you'll see. Some will be in your account, some of them won't be. And if you do find features today that you can see, you're like, oh, I don't have that. I'd love to have that though. Let us know and we can kind of guide you in the right direction as to get that into your account. So we're ready to kind of, or if maybe you are a field worker or a manager and you want to see this in the system, let your administrator know, or the person who makes the decisions, that you want to see this stuff in your system too. And then we can kind of talk about that. Awesome. After that, I'll then go into the Q&A section where we can kind of start to answer those questions you guys might have. So again, please pop those into the Q&A section now or in the chat, and I can kind of look at them when we get to that point. And then lastly, I have some resources that I'll kind of mention to you, but they'll also be in the email that I'll send out after this, as you guys have already attended. So we can kind of have your email addresses to send that through to. Awesome. So without further ado, let's jump into it. This right here is the mobile view of SciDAP Pro. So there's a few kind of things going on obviously in here. This is the home screen that we can kind of have set as the first thing opened. So when we jump in here, this is what you first see. As you can see, there's a few different buttons and things moving around here. So let's kind of dive into each of them. So first off, we have the engagement score. Now, this here is really, really handy for your administrator or kind of anyone who's running the team to see how you're all engaging with the system. So this is going to give you a score based on different things like your check-ins, checking out, if you have that as in your account, how many forms you're completing, how many forms you're kind of half completing and then just saving as a draft. How many hazard board things you've acknowledged and looked at, the active days you've had over certain date ranges, and then also your history as well. So this is a really nice way for you to check in with your own engagement score and see what you're doing in regards to getting the health and safety completed for the company. A lot of companies with us utilize this engagement score to kind of get different levels of engagement from the team. So they might be using this score to kind of see who the star players in the team are and who's kind of maybe being a bit slack. So definitely have a look at this and utilize this to kind of be like, I know I'm achieving and I'm killing it. So utilize this if you can to keep check on yourself, really. Awesome. Then moving along, beautiful little image you can add here. Not sure if this one's quite as cute as yours might be, but definitely you can pop in an image there. Just click on this kind of icon here, and then it will allow you to kind of go from your camera roll or take a photo as well from that device you have. And then you can also, to the right here, add your induction. So every single site has one single induction form that's kind of linked to this button. And what happens is you click on this, complete it that one time that you first go to site. And once it's all done, it'll be green to say, yep, I'm all good for this site. And then when you go to other sites, it'll be red if you haven't done it. So just make sure that when you jump on your new sites, you've got that green tick next to your induction button, all ready to go. Perfect. Also with that, sorry, just to quickly add, if your kind of administrator has set a different kind of process for your inductions, just double check with them that there is which form you're supposed to be filling out. Some people are using this button, some others might be using just another form within the rest of the system. So have a check with your administrator which one is going to be applicable for you. Then from there, what we're going to do is kind of choose this site. So this is where we can kind of select which location we're going to go to. It should already have the one that is closest to you popping up ready to go. And when we jump into that, you can see the list of all of the different sites that you can visit or kind of go and complete that health and safety on. But the closest ones will pop up to the top, easy for you to access. So it's nice and simple. Great. So that is where we can select our different locations that we're going to be going to work. Then from here, we've got different buttons that we can utilize as well. So things like our check in and out. This is where you can kind of check in for the day and it clocks kind of what time you checked in and then what distance you were from site to. So I can click check in. This one here is actually completing a form for me. So this is going to straight away give me a personal pre-start. This is a setting that the administrator can set for you, whether it opens up this personal pre-start to make sure that you've kind of done a form for the day to say, I'm all good to work today. So I'm just going to quickly say, yep, okay, I've got the correct PPE. I've got all the hazards that I'm going to having the current risk assessment. I'm going to kind of make sure that they're all good. So I'll say yes for that. Then I'm going to say, am I trained in today's task? Yes, hopefully. And am I feeling safe and well to start work? Yep, I'm all good. So let's do a yes for that. Now you can see that all of those are completed. They've got that green kind of corner to them and they're all kind of done. So we can now click Save Final. So that is the simplest way of kind of completing a form. And now I'm all kind of checked in, ready to go with that personal pre-start. Some of your team's settings might be that no form will show up. It'll just check you in. So just kind of keep that in mind. You might not necessarily have to fill out a form, but you might be able to check in only. Cool. From here, we've got the hazard board. So this is where you can kind of jump in and see any hazards that have been loaded into the site. Now, this one here hasn't got any kind of notification, as you can see on the to-do list, but there will be a little dot here if there's anything new you need to acknowledge. So for example, if I go to a different site, I've checked in actually, let's just check out quickly. If I go to a site that maybe has something new, like my heritage restoration, I know that one's got some new hazards on it. Oh, have I looked at them? No, already. There you go. So my bush road jog has 3 hazards that I haven't looked at. And so I need to acknowledge those kind of hazards that are amongst my team. So I'm going to go onto the hazard board here. You can see that access to scaffolding is one I have already looked at because it's got that green tick on it, but you can see dropped objects as one that I haven't looked at because it's got the red dot. So that means I need to kind of click into this, have a bit of a look at it. I can open this up and kind of see the different statuses of it and things like that. I might need to maybe add some more PPE because maybe the administrator added this and didn't add all of the PPE we needed, and we actually have additional stuff we've popped in. And then also, if I have any images I can attach to it, I can click on the images one and it'll let me take a photo or to just kind of add from my camera roll that I've already captured. So really handy if you need to kind of edit the hazards that are already in there. We can click save now, and then that's going to update that. Now I still need to acknowledge it because it's still showing up red. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of all of the hazards that I haven't looked at yet. I'm going to click read and understood. And now you can see all of them have turned green so that we know, okay, Rochelle has gone in and she's acknowledged all of these hazards that are new on the Bush Road job. Now, say I've kind of seen all of these hazards and I'm like, okay, cool. Yep, I've got these kind of 3-4 hazards that are on my site, but I know that there's 2 more that have actually become new to the site and we don't actually have them already loaded in here. So I might need to add this as a user so that my administrator gets notified that there's something else to be aware of. So what I'll do is go into the new section up the top right. And this is going to give me a blank kind of template to work with. This is going to allow you now to go and choose which hazards you want to do. So we can come here. We've got different kind of ones to choose from in regards to your hazards that can show up here. And then we also have got which one we want. So we'll just kind of choose maybe aggressive animal. That's around here. So I'm going to go save. That'll add it there. You want the status now to be live or kind of until a certain date. So we'll go into status and pop in which one it is. So it might not be active right now, or it is active and it's also going to maybe be till a certain date. So if you put in the date, you can kind of choose which date you want to pop in there. So I might say, okay, we know this aggressive animal is only around for today. So tomorrow, maybe I'll put it until then, just in case to be safe. Save that off. And we're all good. Okay, put some categories into it as well. So we know that that might be part of maybe, what could it be part of? We could maybe do like protection from task or even environmental risk. That would be a good one. So we'll save that off. And we can put some control measures. So what are we going to kind of do to mitigate that risk? Sorry, not that one. Where is it? Control measures. We might do, where would a good one be? Maybe, what's a good one we can choose from? Maybe we could do like worker competency or something like that. So just anything really that kind of applies to the risks. So we'll save that one. Then we can go and put in kind of the consequences of it. So we've got like, okay, this could be significant maybe. And then also the likelihood of it is possible maybe. So it's kind of that medium range. And then that gives our kind of risk matrix around that. And then we've got the different PPE we might need as well. So maybe there's no PPE in particular we need here, maybe like an arm covering. So I'll pop that there just in case. Additional ones there if you need, and images if you need to as well. So we'll save that off. That's now going to be added to the list. And we need to go and make sure that by tomorrow that's going to be all kind of there. So we need to read and understand it. It's all good. And that's all ticked as well. Awesome. So that is our hazard board in regards to seeing what's already on it and then adding new stuff as well. So definitely have a look into that every day, kind of just to touch base with what's going on. Awesome. Now, from here, we also have the 2 other buttons, which is the report incident button. This is any kind of incident or accident that might happen. You need to kind of report on it, whether you're a manager or just a field worker, but just let the team know, making sure someone has completed this form. There will be processes that your administrator will kind of outline around that specifically, whether you're using this button or a specific form outside of that button. But yeah, just kind of have a chat with that administrator of yours and let them know, okay, am I using this button or am I going to be just doing a normal separate form? Awesome. Additionally, there is also this orange plus button down the bottom. Now, this is where you can kind of go into to find the rest of the forms you might need. So again, if there's any near misses or incidents, this is the kind of list you'll be going to. Also, any kind of one-off ad hoc forms. So it's kind of your just as and when you require a list. So they're kind of there. If you need them, you can favorite the ones that you know you kind of come across a lot, just to kind of save as a one-off thing. Beautiful. Last button we're going to touch on now is also the to-do list. So this here is now going to go through to the tasks that you need to be doing on a regular basis. So what we can see here is at the top, the date range. This is going to automatically set to today. If you do need to be completing a form from a day prior or maybe, a week earlier, we can be doing that. Maybe we've kind of not finished our toolbox for last week, so we quickly need to go and complete that. We can jump into here and we can go and find that other week that you needed to fill it out. Awesome. Then what we can do is also change the site that we're kind of going to. So I'm currently on Bush Road, but I can again choose whichever ones I want to go on to. I'll exit out of that one. Awesome. Then we've got our tasks. So today's tasks, obviously, are the ones that we need to do on a daily basis. There are rotational forms. Same thing with this month's, and you can also have this week show up as well. So those are the kind of types of scheduled forms you'll be seeing, and they will be more rotational. So in the scheduled form section, this to-do list as such, you're going to kind of see the form that you need to be completing. Your administrator would have kind of set certain parameters to make sure that all the forms are just showing for you. So for example, here we've got kind of our different pre-starts. These are just kind of the generic ones that people usually kind of cover. You might have other tasks set for your daily kind of to-do list. And then this month I've got here that's some checklists for kind of visitors to kind of have completed, and then also an evacuation report. But at the very bottom, you can see pinned forms and registers. So these are a little bit different to those rotational forms that you're seeing. This one is more of like a live living register. So this is going to stay there throughout the duration of a job. Generally, your administrator will put it there at the very beginning, and then they're going to kind of take time over for you to complete it over the duration of 4 days, if the job takes 4 days, and then they'll pull that form report out. So with the JSA as a really good example here, we would have it day one added in. And what I'm going to do is click into that form on any day I need to. And what you can see is different kind of sections within here that we need to complete. So maybe day one, I'm going to go in and do a certain task. I'll just type in, I'll just do task 1. So you'd explain that kind of job you're going to be doing for the day. Then we're going to do the work step. So I would say work step 1, just as the example for today. I know it's a bit boring, but you guys will have proper work steps, I'm sure, that you'll be kind of diving into. And then we're going to go, and also we've got an option here to kind of see a SWMS that might be in relation to this task or work step. So I'm going to kind of find my resources that the team or the administrator has uploaded to the system already for us. And I might want to find which one is applicable to this job kind of JSA or whatever. So I might want to do SWMS for the kind of building, or I might want to find the job safety analysis for the roofing, if that's what I'm doing. So we kind of find the resource we're needing. I will just do this one here, for example. We'll attach that to it, and then you can click on the view icon and it'll pop that form up so that you can view it and acknowledge it within kind of your browser. Then from there, we're going to go and do the matrix around it. So we've got which harm or hazard is around us. So I'll click on this. And again, you've got that drop down list of all those hazards and harms that could be around you. So in regards to that task. So we're going to say maybe access to scaffolding is the issue here. You can choose more than one if you need to. So maybe there's some dropped objects as well to be aware of as well. I'll save that. Then I'm going to go and do the initial risk assessment of that. So I'll say, okay, that's quite serious and it's maybe likely. So we've got that score of 12. Then I'm going to go put in some control measures around that. So I'll say, okay, we need maybe this one here, or appropriate training is applicable. So we'll go into that. And then residual risk impact as well. So now we know we've put some control measures in place. We're going to not be as at risk. So we'll say, okay, it could maybe still be serious, but it's very unlikely now. So now it's got a low rating. Save that off. All good to go. Now we've got different levels of control we've done and put in place. So we can now put, okay, I eliminated the hazard, say, and then does this need to be discussed in the safety toolbox meeting? So maybe yes or no, this doesn't. Maybe we could say, yes, this does. And so what we need to do here, because this is kind of a task where we do need to talk about this in the toolbox, so we might need to make like an action to just let someone know that we need to do that within our toolbox talk, for example. Say that's happening tomorrow. Today's Thursday, so tomorrow we would be kind of having that toolbox meeting, and I just have written this JSA note being like, oh, well, we should probably tell the manager, or even if you want to remind yourself to do a task, then you can kind of do that. So what we can utilize here in this case would be the 3 dotted line icon here. So we can click onto that. This is going to allow me to either make a note, which is just a general addition to their form or to this question, or we can make an action. Now, the action is the one where we can kind of jump in here and say, maybe I would want to even utilize my talk to text here, because this would be faster than having to type out, hey, Rochelle, remember to talk about this in your toolbox talk. So now I'm going to go in here and say, talk about this JSA in your toolbox talk. If it does it for me. No, it doesn't want to listen to me, of course. Talk about this in my toolbox talk. Okay, it's going to be a nightmare for me. I love that. Okay, so but usually you can also definitely use your talk to text. It'll speed up the process and it'll type it all out for you. So I'll say, talk about this, maybe swims. Awesome. Okay, then I'll go and assign it to who I need to. So I'll say myself in this case, because maybe I'm the manager and I need to talk about that when I run the toolbox talk tomorrow. And then I'm going to say date is going to be tomorrow. So I'll put it on the 29th. Save that off. If you do have kind of processes that your administrators told you around kind of adding a color coding to that or a priority, we can change those as well if we need to. And then also, pardon me, also if you're a manager, you can also put in things like ad hoc forms, so an uncompleted form. If you need to send it to someone to go and complete, you can link that through, or even a resource. So any resource that have been uploaded by the administrator, you can send through to someone to kind of go and view. I'll save that off now. We're all done. So that is ready, and you can see it's been attached to that question specifically, so that in the reporting for your administrator, it's now all linked into the right question that it needs to be on. Additionally, you can see a few other buttons that are popped up here. So the camera one is one that you can definitely utilize on any question. So for example, if I need to take evidence of anything, I can use that camera button. It'll take a photo from my camera or from my camera roll. And it is applicable for other questions as well. So level of control, for example, if I click into that question, you can see those buttons pop up there to utilize as well. Awesome. So that is the gist of completing those forms. Now that was just one work step and one task. So now what we want to do with this form is it actually has a repeating section within it. And this is why this form is in that live living pinned section, because we want to slowly build on it over time. We won't just be doing one task and one work step. So we want to have more than one that we can keep adding to it. So I would click new section, and that's going to now give me the second work step or task. I'll probably put in the same name of the task because we're doing the same task, which is now adding the second work step. So I would say like task 1 again, but I would say work step 2. Cool. And then you can kind of add in the information as you need to. Awesome. So that is the gist there of kind of adding in that information in regards to the JSA and using kind of those different repeating sections and those different adding a photo and adding a corrective action options. Now, the last bit I have also is the sign off. So this is where we can kind of add in a signature as well. So we've got our name that I'll be putting in here. So that's me. Cool. And then I'm going to put in my signature. Easy. Awesome. So that's all added there as my acknowledgement. And then I've done my one. So now the next person needs to add theirs. So we might go add new section, and then that next person can put in their sign off as well. Today, I don't need that second one. So I'll just have my own sign off and we're good to go. Now we'll kind of save that one as a draft maybe, because we've half done that work step. We might want to come back to finish that work step later. And then you can see that JSA is still at the bottom there for us to go and open up again to see the information I've just put in before. Awesome. Additionally, you can see that we've got that talk about the swims task for me to be doing. So I know that, okay, that's going to have to be something that's done. So it's there for me to go into when I finish it tomorrow in the toolbox talk, and we've actually talked about that swims. I can go into the status and I can say, okay, I have done that one, all completed, save it off. And now that is going to be removed from my list. Super handy. So you've got those tasks that can come through to you from yourself, from the rest of the team, or from your administrator. And then you can kind of have them done just to make sure you're keeping up on top of what you're needing to get done. Awesome. So that is the gist of your kind of to-do list forms, those scheduled rotational ones, the pin form, which is that kind of JSA possibly. You might also have other forms that your administrator lets you know you need to be completing as a rotation, as a kind of built-on form, like that JSA I just demonstrated to you. Or the third option is that ad hoc form. So down the bottom right is where we can find that other list that I was explaining kind of earlier about the different additional forms we can complete. Things like near misses, incidents. You might even be doing your vehicle checks or equipment checks in this kind of way where it's just one off, we grab it out, complete the form and save it to the site that we're on. So depending on what processes you guys have in place, have a bit of a think about which forms you might need to favorite, just so that they're nice and easy to find and get to. Awesome. All right, that is the general kind of flow of what you'll be doing in regards to the mobile. Obviously, this is dependent on your different roles within the company. So some of the things you might have to do, some of the things you can kind of move past and just go straight to the forms to complete if you need to. So definitely talk to your administrator about how you'll be specifically engaging with the system, but that's the general flow of what you'll do. Now, additionally, there are a few other things we can utilize within the mobile. There are a few things like up the top right here, we have got this kind of Wi-Fi signal. This is really handy if you are ever working out of signal. So maybe you're in a farmland, building something there. You might want to complete a form, but you don't have any service. So what you can do is go into your to-do list, complete all those kinds of forms you need to be doing. And then when you either come back into a strong connection, it'll automatically update the system and your administrator will be able to see all that information come through. Or if you know that it's not quite updating right, just make sure you click on this button to manually update it all. Or you can go into the menu and find the save forms and you can kind of update it through that. I'll show you in a second how to do that too. But there is kind of that process of if you're in a rural area and you don't have service, that's how we would kind of be working day to day in regards to form completion and then making sure it flows through for the administrator. Beautiful. Additionally, you have also got your messages icon. So this here will allow you to see any messages that the administrator or anyone has kind of created. And depending on your role that you've been assigned within the system or the access you've been given, you can also add in additional comments. So if you need to kind of make a message for someone, you can add in the new message and you can send it to either everyone or to one person. Awesome. So that is kind of the gist of those additional kind of questions you can find within, or buttons you can find within that home screen as well. Now we also have the menu. So up in the top left here, you've got that drop down list of all the different avenues we can go into in regards to your system. So first off is the home screen. If you want to kind of navigate back to that home screen we were just on, the to-do list is that kind of form list where you can find your scheduled forms, your pinned forms. And then actions is anyone who's done an action or you've created an action or you've got one to do will show up here. So this is that list of those things you need to kind of get done. They'll also show on your to-do list if it's for you, but this is where you can kind of see the whole hub of them. Especially if you're a manager, this would be really handy for you because you can kind of come in here. I've only got mine selected, but if I turn off mine, you can kind of see everyone else's. So I've got Kale here. He's got quite a few corrective actions he's made for me or other people. So I can see all of them there as well. And then you can even click on the active ones to see what's active. So a few of these are quite active. We might want to kind of change the statuses of them if we need to. But I'll click back into mine. You can see here, I've maybe talked about this one, that's all done. So we can see that, but I can also click onto it and it opens up that action so I can kind of change the status if I need to, or maybe the priority as well. Additionally, from here, we can also kind of see the form that it was attached to by clicking on this button. This will then take me through to the form that corrective action was made on, so you can kind of edit the form if you need to as well. Really handy if you're kind of sending through a review. So I'll show you the last one I had. Please sign for approval is what I wrote for myself. And so I now have gone into the form and it'll kind of tell me which form I've done. So this was a site incident injury register form that I needed to have someone sign off on. So I made that corrective action within the form for the person to sign off on, and then they can now open that form and go add their signature if we need to. So really handy if you have that kind of sign-off process on your incident forms. And again, your administrator will let you know if these are the kind of processes that are in place. I'm just kind of showing you what options we do have so you can kind of know how to do it when those processes are told to you. Awesome. Additionally, from here, if you do need to make a corrective action for anyone, just kind of on the fly, we can go into the orange plus button up the top right. Again, this is specific user access you have. So if you're like a manager, you'll be able to do this. If you're just a field worker, you possibly won't be able to make a new corrective action. So just kind of be aware of the different levels of access. And if you need to have access, let your team members know. Awesome. Up in the menu again, there's a few other things. So things like your messages, that is similar to the one I showed you on the home screen, where you can kind of see the messages that are done, add a new message if you need to kind of report out to the rest of the team. Additionally, we have saved forms. This is one of the main ones you'll be utilizing. So this is where you can kind of see any form that you've gone and completed, and I can kind of jump back into it. So JSA, maybe I need to add to this. I can see, okay, cool, I've got an answer these questions. I want to add a new section as well to that one. So I'll go and update that and add more to it. Really, really handy is also if you've got incident forms and stuff that you need to keep adding to later. You might have a signature from someone you need to capture, but they're not present. So you'll just save it as a draft, find it in save forms, go back into it and get that signature from the person you need to. Cool. Additionally, with this, there is kind of the date ranges we need to be aware of and making sure that we were on the right site to find the right form we need. Additionally, as well, if you are a tablet manager or higher, so you've got that kind of managerial role, you can go into the top right here and kind of choose to see everyone's forms by turning off only my forms. So by default, you do see only your ones, but we might want to see everyone's, so we can kind of have this toggle turned off. And then that will show you any other completed forms within that date range on that site as well. I've been the only one who's completed forms on this site, so that's why it's only showing my ones. But if someone else like Kale, for example, I was talking about earlier, will have their forms there too. Awesome. Back in the menu, we have got our sites, projects, and jobs. This one here you can click into and kind of see all of those sites that we've got loaded into the system. The great thing about this is we can jump into them. So for example, on my bungalow renovation, I can open in there, see the map of where it is, any basic details I need to kind of acknowledge within that. And at the very bottom, I can see any site-specific resources as well. So if you are on site and someone says, hey, I want to see the site permit for this site, we've got it right there. Open it up, it opens up in a browser for you, and you can just pop it to show them to anyone who needs to see it. Additionally, as well, if you're a manager, you can also see the check-ins. So from here, if your team has been checking in, you can see what users have kind of logged in for the day, and then also the visitors, if there's anyone using the QR code as well that we have. Beautiful. So that is the gist there. And then in the menu as well, we've got the suppliers and contractors section. This is if you have got an administrators loaded in any kind of additional people who aren't really users, but you guys might need contacts to get to hold of them, or even just be able to see their qualifications. So Bobby Builders, for example, is one that I've got here. This is a contractor that we've got. So I don't need to have them as a user. So they've just been loaded in as a supplier. And what we can do is have their contact details here. And at the very bottom, I've got their pre-qualification as well. So I can view that if I need to. Now, if you're a manager here as well, you can add additional ones in. So if a contractor is new to site, the administrator hasn't loaded them in as a person, you can kind of add them in additionally just from the system here, and it gives you that basic template to add their details in. Perfect. Awesome. All right. So then we have our resources. So this is any kind of a documentation your administrators loaded into the system. So definitely jump into your resources to find those swims and things that we also have linked into forms, but this is the hub for all of them to be viewed. Cool. From here, we also have equipment that might be loaded in. So again, you can kind of, similar to the resources, just jump in here, see that register. You can kind of view the different ones that we've got. Some of them are overdue if they're red. So if you're keeping track of equipment, you can jump in here and see which one of yours is overdue. Maybe we might need to update that. You can kind of edit this if you need to see the information around it, those different kind of dates, date ranges and serial numbers that you might want to update there. Awesome. Additionally, if it has this link here, that means that there's been a resource attached to that equipment, whether it's kind of a registration invoice or WOF or whatever. So that'll be updated there as well from your administrator, and you can have a look at it if you need to. Same as a manager as well, you can also upload a new piece of equipment by doing that orange plus button, same as those kinds of other tabs I was talking about earlier. Great. Moving into users. Again, similar to equipment, we can kind of jump in here and see different users. Visibility a lot around this is still also limited to different user access. So for example, I might jump into Rochelle, and if I am a manager, I can kind of see those different kind of qualifications and things against them. But a field worker might only just be able to see the details of that person. So that is the kind of place you can find any contact details you might need, and just kind of who's in the team. And then moving back, you can also add in a new person if you do have that tablet manager role as well. Perfect. All right, then we have our settings. So this here is kind of where you can jump into the back end of your mobile view and change things, like if you want it to be light mode instead. So if you think it's nice to have this view, we can change that over. I personally like the dark one. I don't know what that says about me, but yes, that's available there too if you want. Options for what your camera will do. If you want to add images only from the camera so that it doesn't come from your camera roll, you can kind of select that. Also options where you can kind of add different situations within the question. So if there's like a date range option, you can make sure that it doesn't autofill that. Things like repeated sections and stuff can be all edited. So just kind of have a look at what you want the settings to be in regards to the questions you answer. And then lastly, we've got those scheduled options. So this is going to tell me I've got a pre-start form that kind of comes up as a 30-minute reminder before 7 a.m. every day. So these are the different reminders that have come through to me already. So you are aware of them, or there are ones coming that are coming up as well. Cool. So that is the settings we can change. Lastly, the last two bits is the switch and the sign out. So switch is kind of available if you are a contractor or someone who has an email address that's attached to this organization and then also another one. So if you've got any users like that where they kind of have to have access to two different Site Pro accounts, they will have the ability to switch. So we just want to, as an administrator, they would have been set up with a same email in both, and then you'll be able to kind of switch between which one you want to do. So if I click switch, I can then choose which different account or company I want to kind of see, and it'll go into that different company for me. I'll stay in Buchanan Building, so it'll keep me here and it'll update the app to be like, okay, this is where Rochelle is today. Cool. All right. Then back in the menu, the last one is your sign out. So this is here where you can kind of log out and then be able to log back in. So in the very beginning, obviously, we want to make sure we all have our logins. You would have received an email that would have your password change kind of link. So that's if you need to kind of reset your password, you can definitely go and do that. You have about 2 hours to do it. And if you don't do it in the 2 hours, you can just click forgot password and it'll resend you that link so that you can then go and log back in if you need to. Other than that, you're kind of ready to go. So your email will be popped in, your password will be popped in, and you kind of just go and sign in, ready for the use of the system. Awesome. That is the whole idea and gist of the mobile flow and what you guys kind of use in regards to the mobile system. So if you have any questions now, please pop them into the Q&A. I'll dive into anything you have to, or alternatively, just respond to my email as well after this so that you can kind of get personal questions kind of through if you're a bit too nervous to pop any into the Q&A section. But other than that, that is pretty much the gist. So I'm going to kind of give you a bit of time to pop your questions in now, and then we can get into them. Everyone's a bit shy, I think. Goodness. Oh no, everyone's too shy to kind of do it. My goodness. That's all right. Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming today, guys. I do have a few resources, things like your support@siteappro.com email is something you can kind of definitely come through to if you have any questions, whether that be you pass your questions to the administrator and they pass it through, or you email out yourself. We love to hear from you, so definitely reach out if you can. And then we also have a video education center that has lots of other webinars as well. So if you want to learn more, or if you want to come to the next Train the Team webinar as well, pop your name down for that registration, or even if you want your team to go to that, pop their names down as well. But other than that, everyone is kind of up to scratch now with how to use the mobile flow. So definitely jump in, get amongst it, chat to your administrator about how you're going to be using the system. But you guys are all kind of equipped now. So good luck, and let me know if you need any help. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.